What should I practice when I sit down at the piano? How can I make sure I'm focusing on real musicality, not just mindless exercises? And how can I be creative? These are just some of the questions I get all the time from piano players at every level. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through a creative chord exercise that I use all the time in my own practice. We're going to be using a tool called the circle of fifths, and this exercise is really going to help you unlock some new sounds on the piano. Let's dive in. To get the most out of this lesson, don't forget to grab your free PDF lesson book, which contains the notation and sheet music for every step of the video. You can either scan this QR code or you can click the link in the video description. Let me give you a little blast of what this exercise sounds like. So satisfying to play. For me, just it flows so well. It's kind of every chord moves seamlessly to the next. I'll do it again for you. Have another listen. It's beautiful. I love this one. Now, if you're thinking it looks a bit complicated, there's a lot going on, I'm going to break it down for you step by step, okay? That's kind of where we're taking it. That's like the end destination. But there are a few steps before that to kind of get everything under our fingers and into our playing. But I'm going to start off by just showing you the two chords this whole exercise pivots around. That's all this whole exercise is based around, okay? These two chords. Now what we're doing there is we're going from a C triad, which is there. If you have a look at my right hand, I've got a C major chord in what we call second inversion. So there's that shape. And we're moving here to an F major chord. And in my right hand, I've got a first inversion shape. So we go C to F. And you can see we're actually doing a bit of contramotion here, which is where your hands move away from each other. So your right hand goes up. See that? My right hand goes in an upwards direction. My left hand goes in a downwards direction, okay? From C to F. Now, we can think of that as C to F, but we can also think of that as a 5-1 in the key of F. Now, before we jump into taking this around the circle of fifths, okay, which is what this exercise is all about, we're going to tweak the chords ever so slightly to add in a little bit more colour, okay? And I'm going to show you how we do this. So, there's that original C chord. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this C, right, up here in our right hand, and we're going to exchange it for the second, okay, also known as the ninth, okay? As you can see, we've already got this C down here in our left hand, so we don't necessarily need another C in our right hand. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring it up a tone or a whole step, okay, however you think of it. We're going to move that up there, okay? As you see, that C has moved to a D, okay? So you can now think of this as a C add 9, you could think of it as a C2, however you want to think of it, but we've now added that colour. Just listen to how this chord rings so much more when you add in that colour note. That note there makes such a difference to the overall sound. It makes it so much more colourful, richer. It's a really great way to kind of spice up your major triads. Let's do the same thing on the F chord now, okay? So there was our original F chord. We're now going to change the third. So the third of an F chord is an A. We're actually going to move that A down a whole step or a tone, depending on how you think of it. We're going to move it to a G. So there it is. There's that colour note. You can see we've actually got a kind of chord with fourths built up here, which is really nice. So let's listen now to the sequence that we're using. Okay, it sounds like this. There's our little nugget of harmony that this whole exercise hinges around. Now you could think of it as C going to F, or you could also think of it as chord 5 going to chord 1 in the key of F. C is a 5 chord, F is the 1 chord, right? And that's how we're going to think of it. Now, to do this, we're going to use the circle of fifths. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what the circle of fifths is, it's essentially a way of organizing all of the chromatic notes, okay, the 12 chromatic notes. So rather than assembling them in ascending order, you can assemble them in fifths or fourths, depending on which way round you go round the circle. So we're actually going to be going anti-clockwise. C is always at the top of the circle, and then if you imagine going in an anti-clockwise direction, you have F, you have B flat, you have E flat, A flat, D flat, all the flat keys, okay? They're all on that left-hand side of the circle. If we do the same thing going to the right, you get C, G, D, A, E, B, F, and then F sharp at the bottom of the circle as well. And that's all our sharp keys, okay? So I sometimes think of it, when I have the circle of fifths, you got all your flat keys to one side and your sharp keys to the other side. Now this is the most important bit. If you look at the top of the circle, you can see we have C going to F. That's our little sequence, isn't it? C to F, which we're also thinking of as 5, the C chord, going to 1, which is F, right? C is chord 5 in the key of F, and F is chord 1. So if we keep on going anti-clockwise around the circle, we're actually going to get all of our little 5-1 cadences. So if I can do it from memory, I haven't got one in front of me, but it'd be C to F, B flat to E flat, A flat to D flat, F sharp to B, E to A, and then D to G. I managed to do it. Sorry, that caught me off guard there. But yeah, there they all are. There's our 5-1 cadences, right? So let's see if we can do this around the circle of fifths. Now, there's a lot to process here. Okay, we're doing a lot of processing, working through a lot of different keys. Do check out that lesson book because I've written it all out for you, okay? It's all written every step so you can really follow along. And I've even put the names of the notes inside the note head if you struggle reading music. So it should really help you do this. But I'm going to show you, okay, what this looks like. Now, here's our C chord. There's our F chord. Let's do the same thing from B flat to E flat. It looks like this. Let's keep on going. Let's go A flat to D flat. Okay, I'll do all of those moves again for you, okay? We've almost completed one side of the circle now. So we've got C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat to D flat. There it is. Okay, let's keep on going. We're now going to do F sharp to B. Check this out. There we go. Let's keep on going. E to A. Lastly, D to G. And then we end up on C, which is there. Now there's a lot going on there, and maybe before you take it round the whole circle, I'd suggest just picking one of the cadences, I don't know, maybe F sharp to B, and just play it really slowly. Make sure your hands feel comfortable in that key, make sure you know what notes you're playing. Take your hands off, and then go back and play it. That process of actually moving your hands off the piano makes such a difference when you're learning something. You could even do that coin trick I showed you in a previous video. I'll link that down below if you haven't checked it out, but where you move the coins each time you play it right. That's really fun. So I suggest doing that with a couple of the different cadences, or as many of them as you can, and then have a go at playing it round the whole circle, okay? So let me just show you what it sounds like in real time when you do this, okay? Check it out. Sounds beautiful, doesn't it? All those chords sound so rich. Now in a second, I'm going to show you a way to take this up a gear. But before I do that, let me just show you that exact same thing again at speed so you can really get an idea of how it flows. Beautiful. I love this so much. It's one of my favorite ones. By the way, if you are interested in a more structured approach to your piano learning, I'm bringing something out very soon called the Creative Piano Roadmap. It's a course delivered by me with video lessons, a course workbook. There's some really interesting features as part of this course. It's like nothing I've really seen out there before, and I'm so excited to share it with you all. If you are interested in hearing more about that, I've put a link to join the waitlist down in the video description. Just add your name to that list and it'll mean that you'll be notified as soon as we launch. We're now going to have a go at tweaking one of the chords. What we're going to do is we're going to make every other chord an inversion. And we're going to do that by changing the note in our left hand. Okay, so rather than going, if we go back to the top of the circle, rather than going C to F, we're going to go C to F over A. So we're going to be doing a first inversion chord on this F. You see that? So it's now C to F over A, and you can see in my left hand, rather than playing the F like I was before, I'm playing the A. Okay, so again, you might want to go through with the lesson book and actually practice all of those movements individually. But I'm going to go round the circle, okay, the whole way round. I'm going to show you what this sounds like. It really gives this exercise a whole new dimension. Check it out. There it is. Now don't forget, you can also use that little gear icon in the corner of the YouTube window. It really helps to slow the video down so you can really see where my hands are going. So do use that so you can really follow along with this. I think the reason this works so well, that shape there just is beautiful. It's one of my favorite voicings, that. How would I describe that? Well, it's really F sus2 over A, except I've rearranged these notes in my right hand. So we've got those fourth intervals there. And if I go through, it's that chord. Every other chord just really rings. It's my favorite shape. Beautiful. Okay. At the moment, this whole exercise is feeling quite static. And what I mean by static is it's kind of chord, 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 chord. There's nothing in between to help bridge everything together. Remember, when we're playing piano, we always want to find ways to connect everything together, whether that's a melody or a rhythm or something else. So what we're going to do here is we're going to add in some passing notes to connect each of the chords in the sequence. This is kind of the next level again, right? Let me show you what this sounds like. You can see just adding in those little melody notes, which I'm going to break down in a second, it just moves the whole thing along. It propels it forward. It keeps it going. It's like something's tumbling, you know, it gives it that feeling. So what am I doing there to give it that kind of effect? Now, it's actually a lot easier than it looks, okay? If you think back to the beginning of the video, we started with that C chord, and all we did was change this C for a D, okay? We moved that up. Well, what I'm doing here is I'm moving it back. Okay, I'm going from the D to a C in my right hand. Check it out. There's the first move. Okay, it's a little passing note in the middle of the chord. Now, if we do the same thing on the F, if we think back to that original F chord, it was there, wasn't it? Okay, and we move that A down to the G. Okay, if we add in our new little bass note, that third in the bass, there's our shape. Well, all I'm going to do is I'm going to move that G back up to an A. So if I show you the whole thing, it looks like this. So it's almost a really nice pattern because you've got something in the middle moving on the first chord. That's moving down. And then here, the note at the bottom of our right hand is moving up. So it gives it this really kind of nice movement. And then if we keep on going, there it is. Now, there's a lot going on there. Again, it's all written out for you in that free PDF lesson book. Do download it, check it out. It also comes with the backing track I'm about to be using in a second. I've created a backing track that we're going to play this along with, and I'm going to take you through it, okay? We're going to do the more advanced version of the exercise, but what's great is the backing track also works with all of the other exercises we've looked at, so you can try it out with each of them. Let's give this a go, and I'm really going to focus on that moving note. And getting that really flowing. What you don't want it to sound like is this. Do you see, it's like, it sounds very kind of regimented, almost like a march, and you don't want that. You want this whole exercise to really just flow as naturally as possible. Imagine something kind of rippling or rolling. It's that kind of effect. It's very subtle, but makes a big difference. Play it at a kind of medium dynamic, slightly quieter, and make it sing, make the music dance, however you want to think of it. Whatever works to make you kind of play it in a really natural way. Okay, let's give this a go with the track. There it is. Now, if you're someone who's thinking to yourself, that's great, but I want to find a way to make this exercise my own and take it to that next level again and get creative with it, one of the things you can do is come up with a little melody, super, super simple, to connect each chord. A little bit like adding in those passing notes, I'm going to see if I can come up with a melody on top. Okay, and a melody, there's not a massive gap between the chords, is there? You've just got chord, chord, chord. You've only really got a beat to play with. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a note that bridges that gap between the chords. So I'm going to maybe use the fifth of the chord we're on. Okay, so if we're on a C chord, I'm going to go to a G. Okay, and then go to my F chord. Do you see that? So I'm going to go. All the way around. Now, if you wanted to do something a little bit more complicated, you could do something like that. Now, what I'm doing there is I'm using the major scale of the chord we're on. So we're on a C chord, I'm using the C major scale, but I'm starting on an E, which is the third of the C major scale, and I'm going third, fourth, fifth of the scale. You see that? Now the next chord is a B flat. So I did the same thing there, didn't I? I went of my B flat scale, D, which is the third, E flat, which is the fourth, F, which is the fifth. Do you see how this kind of exercise really gets you thinking about chords in a different way? You're constantly having to think, okay, where am I now? What chord am I going to? How does this relate to where I'm going to next? It's a different way of thinking. And what I would say, a little bit of advice, if you are downloading the lesson book, okay, and you're working through it, which is great, I'd really recommend doing that. See if you can do it without looking at the lesson book. I'm almost saying download the lesson book, but don't look at it. I'm not quite saying that. I'm saying download it, go through it with the book, work it all out, get it really confident under your fingers, and then put the book away. See if you can play it through and mentally process what's going on, because the more mental processing you're able to do when you play these exercises, the better you're going to be familiar with chords and keys and all these things which are really going to help you get to that next level as a piano player. So I'd really recommend doing that. I'm going to have a go now at doing that little melody I showed you. I'm going to do this with the backing track. Let's give it a go. Now, if you're someone who really enjoys these creative warm-up exercises, I think you're going to love this playlist up here, where I break down all of the different things I do to keep my practice fresh, keep myself engaged when I'm practicing, and most of all, keep things creative. Go check out that playlist, and I'll see you over there.